All right. So uh, today we're diving into something that might seem a little counterintuitive. Buying a home when mortgage rates are high. I know you're probably thinking 6, 7% or even higher. That's kind of scary, right?
Yeah, it's understandable to be a little apprehensive, especially after the really low rates we've seen recently. But the thing is, the market right now, it actually creates some unique opportunities for buyers who know how to navigate it.
Okay. So you've got my attention. What kind of opportunities are we talking about here?
Well, think about it this way. High rates, they scare away a lot of buyers, which means less competition for you.
Right.
You know that house you loved last year? The one you got outbid on?
Oh, yeah.
It might be back on the market. And you might even be able to get it for a lower price.
Interesting. So fewer buyers could actually mean lower prices. Makes sense.
Yeah.
But
hmm
how does that translate into actual benefits for me as a buyer?
Well, less competition means sellers are more eager to negotiate. They might be willing to, cover your closing costs, offer upgrades, maybe even throw in some furniture just to sweeten the deal. Imagine, getting thousands of dollars off the asking price simply because there are fewer people bidding against you.
Okay. That's a pretty compelling argument. So
Wow.
instead of seeing high rates as a deal breaker,
hmm
we can start to see them as a way to gain some leverage.
Exactly. It's a shift in perspective. And you also have to remember, historically speaking, mortgage rates fluctuate. What seems high now, it might be normal in a few years. In the meantime, you're building equity, you're securing your housing.
Yeah, that's true. But let's be realistic for a second. Those high rates still mean higher monthly payments,
True.
and that can be a real budget buster for a lot of people.
Yeah, absolutely. That's where the concept of refinancing comes in. Think of it this way. You marry the house, not the rate. You can always refinance later when rates drop,
Okay.
but you can't go back in time and buy a house at a lower price if the market goes up.
Okay, so refinancing sounds promising,
Yeah.
but what are the chances that rates will actually go down in the future? Is there any guarantee?
Well, there are no guarantees, of course. But rates have historically gone up and down in cycles. So while we can't predict the future, refinancing is definitely something to keep in mind as a long-term strategy.
So how does refinancing actually work? I mean, I've heard the term, but I've never really understood the process.
It basically means replacing your existing mortgage with a new one, often at a lower interest rate. This can lead to lower monthly payments and potentially save you thousands of dollars in interest over the life of the loan.
Okay. But refinancing probably comes with its own set of costs and challenges, right? It's not just a simple swap.
Yeah, you're right. There are closing costs involved with refinancing, just like with the original mortgage. And sometimes, if the value of your home hasn't appreciated enough, you might not qualify for a lower rate or even be able to refinance at all.
So it's a potential tool, but not a guaranteed solution.
Got it. So, what other factors should I consider in this high rate environment? Well, while we're talking about the financial side of things, let's not forget about rent. Rents are rising rapidly in many areas, and those rising rents benefit landlords, not renters. By buying a home, even at a higher rate, you're putting your money towards building your own equity, not someone else's.
That's a really good point. It's easy to forget that renting doesn't build any long-term wealth for the renter.
Exactly. And speaking of building wealth, this high rate market can actually be a good time to consider a fixer-upper.
A fixer-upper. You mean those houses that need a little
Yeah,
TLC, the
precisely.
ones that scare off most buyers?
Exactly, because they might need some work. They're often priced lower than move-in ready homes. With less competition from other buyers, you might be able to snag a great deal and build equity through renovations.
Right.
We actually have a case study in our research about a couple who did just that.
Really? Tell me more about this fixer-upper success story. How did they manage to turn a potential money pit into a profitable investment?
Well, they were smart about the renovation choices. They focused on cosmetic upgrades like painting and landscaping. Those have a high return on investment. They also learned some basic DIY skills to save on labor costs.
So they weren't afraid to get their hands dirty and put in some sweat equity. I like that. It shows that you don't have to be a real estate mogul to make smart decisions in this market. But what if someone doesn't have the time or skills for a major renovation?
Well, not everyone is cut out for DIY projects, and that's perfectly fine. But the point is that in a slower market, you have more options and more time to explore them. You're not pressured to make a snap decision or compete with dozens of other offers.
So patience and a willingness to think outside the box can really pay off in this environment. But let's be honest, buying a home is still a big financial commitment. And it can be nerve-wracking when rates are this high. How can I avoid getting overwhelmed by the whole process?
Well, it all comes back to having a long-term vision. Think about where you want to be in 5, 10 years. Will owning a home help you achieve those goals? Remember, you're not just buying a property, you're investing in your future.
That's a great way to put it. It's not just about today's rate. It's about where you want to be tomorrow. Yeah, it's like having a roadmap to guide you through all the twists and turns of the home buying process. But even with a roadmap, it's easy to get sidetracked or discouraged, especially when you're bombarded with all this news about rising rates and a cooling market.
Yeah, that's true. But remember, media headlines often focus on the negative. To grab attention, it's important to filter out the noise and focus on your own individual goals and circumstances.
Okay, so how can I stay focused and avoid getting caught up in all that negativity?
Well, one helpful strategy is to build a strong support system. Talk to people you trust, family, friends, maybe a financial advisor, people who can offer encouragement and a fresh perspective.
Yeah, it's like having a cheering squad in your corner, reminding you why you started this journey in the first place.
Exactly. And while your friends and family can offer, emotional support, you'll also need some practical guidance from professionals who really understand the ins and outs of the real estate market.
Right, so finding the right real estate agent is crucial,
hmm
especially in a market like this. But with so many agents out there, how do I know I'm choosing the right one?
Well, look for someone who's experienced, knowledgeable, and responsive to your needs. Ask for recommendations from people you trust. And don't be afraid to interview several agents before making a decision.
Okay, what kind of questions should I be asking potential agents? What qualities should I be looking for?
Well, experience in a high-rate market is essential. Ask about their recent track record, how
Yeah.
they've helped buyers navigate similar challenges in the past, and what strategies they use to negotiate effectively. You want someone who's proactive, not passive.
Right, okay, so experience and a proactive approach are key. But what about their communication style? How do I know if we'll be a good fit?
Well, trust your gut. Choose someone that you feel comfortable with, someone who listens to your concerns and explains things clearly. Buying a home is a big decision, and you'll be working very closely with your agent throughout the entire process.
Yeah, it's like a partnership, right? You're both working towards the same goal.
Absolutely. And just like any good partnership, communication is key. Be open and honest with your agent about your budget, your needs, and your expectations.
Okay, so I've got my support system in place. I've found a rock star real estate agent. But those high rates are still looming over me. What can I do to make the financing more manageable?
Well, remember, we talked about refinancing as a long-term strategy, but there are also some creative financing options you could explore to make buying more affordable upfront.
Okay, like what? Give me some examples.
Well, one option is an adjustable rate mortgage, or ARM. It starts with a lower fixed rate for a set period, usually like 5 to 7 years. Then the rate can fluctuate based on market conditions.
Okay, so an ARM could be a good option. If I plan to move or refinance, before the rate starts to adjust.
Yeah, it could be. But it's important to understand the risks. If rates rise significantly, your monthly payments could go up substantially.
Okay, so ARMs are a bit of a gamble. What other options are out there?
Well, another possibility is a buy down. This is where you pay an upfront fee to temporarily reduce your interest rate. It can make your monthly payments more affordable in the early years of the loan.
Okay, so it's like prepaying some of the interest to get a lower rate up front.
That's a good way to think about it. Buy downs can be a useful tool, but they're not for everyone. You need to weigh the upfront costs against the potential savings.
Okay, so it sounds like there's no one-size-fits-all solution when it comes to financing. It's all about finding the right strategy
Yeah,
for my individual circumstances.
exactly. That's why it's so important to work with a knowledgeable lender and a real estate agent who can guide you through the different options and help you make informed decisions.
So I've learned a lot about the practical side of buying in a high-rate market. But what about the emotional side? It's a big decision, and it can be really stressful, especially when you're dealing with high rates and a volatile market.
Yeah, you're right. Buying a home is both a financial and an emotional investment. It's important to acknowledge those feelings and not try to suppress them.
So how do I manage the stress and anxiety that comes with such a big decision?
Well, one way is to remind yourself of your why. Why are you doing this? What are your long-term goals? Connecting with those deeper motivations can really help you stay grounded and focused when things get tough.
This is like having a personal mantra to repeat when I start to feel overwhelmed.
Exactly. And remember, you're not alone in this. Many people experience stress and anxiety during the home buying process. Don't be afraid to reach out to your support system for encouragement and advice.
Speaking of support, I think one of the biggest takeaways from this conversation is the importance of building a strong team, having the right people in your corner. A supportive real estate agent, A knowledgeable lender, trusted friends and family can make all the difference.
Absolutely. It's like assembling a dream team to help you achieve your home ownership goals. Each member brings their own expertise and perspective to the table, and together you can navigate the challenges and celebrate the victories.
Yeah. And it's amazing how shifting your perspective can change the whole game. Instead of seeing high rates as this insurmountable obstacle, we can start to see them as an opportunity to be more creative, more strategic, and more discerning in our choices.
Precisely. It's about embracing the challenge and using it as a catalyst for growth.
I love that. So instead of waiting for the perfect market conditions, we can empower ourselves with knowledge, build a strong team, and take action, even when things feel uncertain.
And that's what being an informed and empowered buyer is all about. It's about taking control of your own narrative and creating the future you desire.
Now that's inspiring. But before we get too carried away with all this empowerment, let's bring it back to reality for a moment.
Sure. What do you have in mind?
Well, we've talked about the potential benefits of buying in a high-rate market. Less competition, more negotiating power, the possibility of finding hidden gems like fixer-uppers. But let's be honest, there are also some real downsides, right?
Of course there are. There are always two sides to every coin, right? While high rates present certain opportunities, they also come with some challenges.
Yeah, for sure. What are some of the downsides that I need to be aware of?
Well, the most obvious one is affordability. Higher rates mean higher monthly payments, and that can really stretch your budget thin. It might mean having to buy a smaller home than you originally envisioned, or maybe make some compromises on location or amenities.
Right, so it's a trade-off. I might have more negotiating power and less competition. But I also have to be more realistic about what I can actually afford.
Exactly, and it's important to factor in all the costs associated with homeownership, not just the mortgage payment. Property taxes, insurance, maintenance, repairs, those can add up quickly.
Oh yeah, for sure. That's a good reminder. It's easy to get focused on that big number, the mortgage payment. But all those other expenses, they can really make a difference in your overall budget.
Absolutely. Another potential downside is the risk of buying at the wrong time. What if rates drop significantly a year or two after you buy?
Oh yeah.
You could end up feeling like you overpaid or missed out on a better deal.
Yeah, I can see that. That's a fear a lot of people have. Nobody wants to feel like they made the wrong decision, especially when it comes to such a big investment.
And that's why it's so important to do your research, weigh the pros and cons, and make a decision that feels right for you.
Right.
Not based on fear or market hype.
Right. It's all about finding that balance between being opportunistic and being cautious, not getting swept up in the frenzy, but also not letting fear paralyze you.
Exactly. And remember, there's no crystal ball. We can't predict the future of the market with 100% certainty. The best we can do is gather information, analyze the data, and make an educated decision based on our individual circumstances and goals.
Makes sense. So to wrap up all these amazing insights we've covered today, what are the key takeaways for someone who's seriously considering buying a home in this high-rate market?
Well, I think the most important thing is to shift your perspective. Instead of seeing high rates as a barrier, see them as a potential advantage. Less competition, more negotiating power, the possibility of finding unique properties that others might overlook, those are all real benefits.
It's about turning a perceived negative into a positive, finding those silver linings in the clouds.
Exactly. And remember, knowledge is power. The more you understand about the market, the financing options, and the home buying process, the more confident you'll feel in making the right decision for your future.
Okay, so shift your perspective, arm yourself with knowledge, and don't be afraid to take action even when things feel uncertain. What about the emotional side of things, though? How can I manage the stress and anxiety that inevitably comes with such a big decision?
Well, focus on your why. Remind yourself of the reasons why you want to own a home. Visualize yourself living in that space, creating memories, building a future. Those positive emotions can really help counterbalance the stress and keep you motivated.
It's like having a mental picture of your future self, cheering you on and reminding you of the bigger picture.
Exactly. And if those anxious thoughts start to creep in, don't hesitate to reach out to your support system. Talk to your friends, your family, your real estate agent, your therapist, anyone who can offer encouragement and a listening ear.
Right. It's a reminder that you're not alone in this journey. There are people who care about you and want to see you succeed.
Absolutely. And speaking of support, remember the importance of building a strong team. A knowledgeable real estate agent, a trustworthy lender, a reliable home inspector. These are the people who will guide you through the process, answer your questions, and advocate for your best interests.
Yeah. It's like having a group of experts in your corner, helping you navigate the complexities of the real estate world.
Exactly. And don't forget about the power of self-care. Take breaks when you need them. Engage in activities that bring you joy. And nourish your mind and body throughout this process. Buying a home should be an exciting and fulfilling experience, not a draining one.
That's such an important reminder. It's easy to get so caught up in the details and the logistics that we forget to take care of ourselves along the way.
Absolutely. And ultimately, it's all about finding the right balance between being informed and being intuitive, between being practical and being optimistic, between taking calculated risks and trusting your gut.
That's beautifully said. It's a reminder that buying a home is more than just a financial transaction. It's a personal journey, a life decision, a step towards creating the future you envision for yourself and your loved ones.
Exactly. And even though the market conditions might not be ideal, the dream of home ownership is still within reach. It just requires a shift in perspective, a willingness to adapt, and the courage to take that leap of faith.
I think that's the perfect note to end on. A message of hope and empowerment for our listeners who've been with us on this deep dive into the world of high-rate home buying.
We hope this conversation has given you the knowledge and the confidence to navigate this market with a sense of possibility rather than fear.
And remember, you're not alone on this journey. We're here to support you every step of the way.
Until next time, keep diving deep, keep asking questions, and keep believing in the power of your dreams.